That takes us to item 43, Planning and Development Services, public hearing to adopt ordinance number 2014-084, approving rezone petition number 14-17 for property located north of Clark Road and south and west of Proctor Road from RSF 1 with stipulations to RSF 1 zone district with amended stipulations. And the Planning Commission recommended approval. Before I turn over you to Mr. Crane, I just want to say if anyone from the Planning Commission is watching this, thank you for their service on that night. I think, what did they go past 1 o'clock in the morning on this?
It went from approximately 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m.
So long night, and appreciate their service. You're saying they're going to fence in the property of the known landfill areas.
That's correct.
And does that include the one side that abuts Ashley? So
Yes.
It'll be completely enclosed?
This is again, there are two known landfill areas that we're assured of. This one right here, which is approximately 70 acres, that Ashley is over here. That's the subdivisions developed to the west of this property. They'll fence this one. They'll fence this other one in the central part of the property, proffered by the applicant.
Okay, so there's already a developed community that's adjacent to what's the known landfill, and there's no fence there now.
That's correct.
Okay. And then same thing up at the top. There's some developed properties that abut the landfill. Yeah, keep going with your cursor right
In this area?
up further, up by the entrance there. So there'll be a fence along those existing lots where people live?
Well, there are lots on the other side of Proctor Road.
No, right down, right there. Stop.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The fence will be there also? Because there's three lots that
right
appear.
Here, and the actual entrance road will be on top of the landfill at that point. And that's basically the only part of the landfill we'll be on top of.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask the applicant this, but is this, the fencing along Ashley, something that the neighborhood wants, or is that just being offered as a stipulation to keep people off of there?
Keep people out, and it was also proffered by the applicant as a safety measure. I think the neighborhood was certainly in favor of keeping, they don't want children out there, they don't want pets out there, they don't want people disturbing the known former landfill areas.
This is a binding development concept plan that there are two areas where the historic landfills are located, and I want to point those out. Again, it's this 70-acre parcel that's in light green, and this smaller, approximately 20-acre parcel that's in the center of the site. The petitioner is not, and it's important to know this because many of the comments have been stated over and over, and all the correspondence has repeated this, and it's not correct that any building is going on the landfill. The petitioner is not proposing to construct any houses over these landfills. We are not disturbing these landfills. That's pursuant to stipulation number 16, expressly prohibiting houses to be constructed on the landfills. We are proposing to construct houses only on the area that was not used for landfills. We are using central sewer, as Mr. Broof mentioned, central sewer, central water, and reuse irrigation water. At this time, I'd like to introduce Chip Hoover, our professional engineer.
This first slide, I'd like to call to your attention. This is the developable area here and here between, enclosed by the yellow lines. It does not include the 70-acre landfill over here or the 20-acre landfill over here.
When you mention about not touching it, the access road comes in from Proctor Road right here. When Carlos asked me to get involved, I said, okay, I want to go to the DEP with you and listen to what they say about the access road. And we met with the DEP staff, and they said you're basically not going to puncture down into the top of the former landfill. You're going to build a bridge on top. Yes, we're going to build a bridge on top. The entire roadway as it's built here will be built above, on top of what's the existing ground. They said, yes, that's what we're going to do it. He goes, I'm fine. That was the DEP official, Charles Masalla, down in Fort Myers. So I heard it with my own ears that that's what they were proposing to do. And once he heard that, he was fine. He said, the problem is when you go in and begin to puncture things. And I remember him saying that distinctly, and there's no reason for us to do that. You build the road as a bridge on top.
Another question.
Called site rehabilitation completion order, which is effectively what we want. We do not have that at this time.
Tell them what remediation is. It's the soil blending or the cover.
Well, the remediation is whatever it takes to isolate exposure to that material, whether it be dilution, removal, that type of thing.
And that's stipulated in that stip right there.
That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Mayo, thank you. That was, Mr. Hoover, I think just to complete this for the public's benefit, because this was where my question was, is you'll submit it to DEP to prove the remediation's done.
Yes, sir.
So prior to any lot being sold or prior to any building permit being pulled or anyone ever living there, that process must occur.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Stipulation 9.
I just wanted to say it and have it on the record verbally versus in a stipulation, because that's what I understood.
Is this working here?
Yeah, it's up.
Okay, so the buffer, we were talking about what makes Ashley different than these is the fact that there is a land buffer. This is the actual, if you look at the aerial photo, this isn't a good one, but there is a buffer between, I'm sorry, we're over here. I'm looking at the wrong one. If you look at the aerial photo of this, there is a buffer between this land and the old dump. Well, the problems with this and Ashley is these are over an acre property. So the homes sit way back here. Whereas this will literally be, your back property will be the dump. So your fence is going to sit on wherever they find garbage, they'll come a foot back and put a fence up. I don't find that acceptable whatsoever. I just want to quickly just remind everyone that we were here a year ago. The 4 commissioners that did vote on it voted to deny the rezone petition. Mr. Barbetta made comments that if we would be remiss by making assumptions that landfills know exact boundaries and that they don't leach and there isn't plumes. There's too much at risk that we would be putting the public's health and safety at risk. Mr. Hines, you had talked about back.
Thanks for stepping forward. Mr. Roddy, I have a couple of questions for you. Mr. Rosen came up and talked about a stipulation creating a legal remedy. There's already going to be, according to the stipulations, a notice of proximity. But stipulations, are they able to create legal remedies? Is that what first of all, is that their intent? And 2, how enforceable would something like that be?
Well, their stipulations create a remedy for the county to do something, to enforce compliance or noncompliance with that stipulation. It sounded like he was describing a stipulation that if you encounter certain things, you had to do something. And I'm not quite sure what all those actions are. If you encountered construction debris, if you encountered toxic waste or something like that.
Someone's of the opinion that something's going to be built over the landfill area. Can you help me?
Yes. Basically, the applicant proffered that, and it's a stipulation carried forward from the 2001 approval, that no habitable structure will be built on any landfill. That's carried forward, and it's also the intent of the current applicant and the recommended stipulation now. He's proffered that as also an additional stipulation. He's made the representation that nothing will be built in the known former landfill areas, those 2 70-acre and 20-acre areas, I'll refer to them as, except that the road from Proctor Road in the northwest corner will be, as Mr. Merrill said, a bridge type of structure over the part of the landfill. Otherwise, his intent by fencing them was for just that, which is that they will be kept as open space and that nothing will be built in those known landfill areas.
So notice of proximity to former landfills is indicated in stipulation number 8.
So just for the public's benefit, you sit down, you sign a contract to buy a piece of land or have a home built. You're handed a copy of the declarations of the neighborhood. This is in an exhibit to that is handed to the homeowner, that they sign off and say they've received those declarations.
Yes.
Okay.
He's not.
Versus having to go to the public record and try to find that document.
Yes. That is correct. Carlos?
Commissioners, for the record, Carl Sproof. As a matter of practice, for over 20 years, we have a form that every customer signs. It says that they have received a copy. We actually do it both in hard form and in digital form today so that they can keep it in their record. But I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had some questions I had written down, but Mr. Crane, in his presentation, answered those questions, so I didn't even have to ask them. I understand the concerns neighbors have had, but I think this developer has gone beyond, above and beyond, to answer questions and try to make folks comfortable with what he wants to do with this project. And so I would like to move to adopt ordinance number 2014-084, approving rezone petition number 14-17 with the amended stipulations.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Mason, second by Commissioner Mayo. Commissioner Mason.
I don't have anything further.